Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for our episode 3 to talk about the exploration of motherly connection with Diana Veskyte Landborg and myself, Raditya Lasri. We've had so many great conversations so far, and we now want to conclude today's conversation by integrating what we talked about and also expanding our horizons on what shall this conversation has helped you with. Why would you need to listen to these in the first place? And what is there going to, what are some takeaways for us through our conversations, and also what we hope for you to take away from here? So Diana and I have slightly discussed about today's conversation, and obviously connected to our last conversation where we ended. I don't know if it was at the end, but we definitely integrated curiosity and creativity into the conversation. And we wanted to integrate this because those two aspects, no matter where you are in life, no matter what challenges you're finding yourselves in, those two things will always be helpful to start with. And that is actually why we want to connect this to motherly connections. Because at the end of the day, we want to make a connection with ourselves, with one another, with each other. And the only way to truly do this is by becoming curious. So I want to start with the word curious. One, what does it mean to you? How does it land for you? How does it show up in your life? And also, how do you connect it to your everyday lives? That curiosity comes up, and then later on we'll integrate it all together. Yeah, so go ahead, Diana. Any thoughts that you want to share with?
Oh, thank you, Raditya. A lot of questions, right? So there will be a lot of thoughts, I think. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here with you all and with you, Raditya. Yeah, for me, when you talk about curiosity, for me, it's just being curious about everything in life, to be honest. Just like trying to be open as possible. I mean, we all are subjective in one way or another, but to be as objective, as open as possible when we, not looking at life like black and white, right? Trying to see all the colors on in between there, and trying to understand. And I mean, I've had it all my life, but I was always asking question why since I was little, because I wanted always to understand why are people doing things, and why. We had this book when I was little in Lithuania, which called The One Who Is Asking Why, and I loved that book. And now I remember just talking to you. It's so funny because it really, for me, what curiosity is, just be curious of life, be curious of what you see, what you read, and don't swallow it like like this, and be moved by it too much, especially if it's negative emotions that are moving you and so on. It's just like, be curious instead. Why is this triggering me? Or why is this person saying these things, so good or bad or mean or whatever, and trying to understand where they come from. For me, it really helped in my everyday life, to understand my kids better, to understand my spouse better, to have better conversations with my friends and everyone in life, actually. And also curiosity about life. I just love reading things, learning things, understanding things. I mean, it's so much here in life that we people don't know yet. And I mean, for me, after my burnout journey, curiosity about our, brain, our body, how it works, how it all is connected, and realizing that, science knows a lot, but just a fraction of what and why and how our body works. It just makes me even more curious to learn more, and, just to be open and understanding. I know, that's what's, when you said curiosity, what it means to me, that means to me. And it helps me to expand, to learn things and to see things in different ways, and also find solutions, different solutions than there are. I think I've always been a problem solver. So just, like people say, there, you can't solve this. For me, especially before, it was like, oh, really? Not? Why not? And it's like, there must be a way. And you find out this curious other way. I mean, there you use your creativity then to use to solve that problem. And it has been driving me a lot during my career, for example. Now I just remember it when I was talking to you. Yeah, so yeah, that's what came up to me right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, because obviously you almost can't speak about curiosity without talking about creativity, because it's like I was listening to you and I was like, oh, I can sense it. I can sense it. Creativity is coming. It's coming, right? And so it's really interesting. The moment we become curious, the moment we have these questions without a solution connected yet, just out of wanting to learn, wanting to know, because I love that you brought up science, because yes, science is great. It's great knowledge. But unless I feel it, unless I can actually say, yes, I have experienced this just like science has proven it, it has no meaning. And so I think that's the same thing when it comes to being curious around other people and myself, right? Like if I feel, like you beautifully said, like if I have this negative emotion, instead of trying to walk away from it or try to, find something else to not feel that way, to really just ask out of curiosity, like, okay, what happened just now that made me feel this way? And I think that's what sometimes is hindering us to really become interested in all facets of life, and not just the things that feel easy, and something that nurtures us in a way, just to bring up this part of our past conversations. And one thing that also comes for me is that curiosity can be the foundation, which I wanted to connect it to our motherly connection, right? Like us coming into this world, mothers, in whichever form it is the initiation of life in this world we're living in, right? Maybe not the initiation of where you believe it it comes out of. And but that's where I can see it. So when I think about curiosity, I see it as the initiation of something new, initiation an initiation of something I don't know anything about yet, something that might bring a new light to a situation, something that I might have thought one way, but now turns out to be another way. And so to really understand that what I know is only a small piece of the bigger picture. And I think that's why sometimes it's good to have one, curiosity, but also people that bring us into these situations where we feel uncomfortable, where maybe they're pointing at something that we either don't want to look at, or bring us to a place that we never thought about. And those things as when, for me, like my ears and eyes like lit up when somebody says like, oh, I never thought about this. Or it's like, oh, that just this does not feel right to me. Like, what's going on here? And we together then try to explore and see, like, oh, all right, so what's not feeling right here? Is it what I said? Is it what you feel? And so that's where this exploration really comes in handy, just like our ancestors were exploring, right? How they were figuring out what herbs to eat and which ones are not, which one make us sick and which ones are not. And so that really is something that we need exploration and curiosity that doesn't always get us what we want. Any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's so true. No, no, of course. And yeah, I was just thinking about, without curiosity, we wouldn't be here, people, we wouldn't be able to communicate like you and I through internet or different parts of the world, actually, and at the same time, and talk about amazing things. And there wouldn't be so many amazing things that people, do and develop. And I think it's one of the greatest motors of humanity, and I think one of the greatest motors of where we are going. And I think in my life, for example, when going back to the motherly connection, like when I didn't feel that motherly connection, not because of my connection to my mom, but because of the life situation when I felt lost in life and everything. I wasn't as curious then. I couldn't. At that time, it was harder for me to be curious. I was curious about, exploring life, like learning about my body, how it could be healthy and so on. But I was not curious about, when I was stressed out, I wasn't curious about other people and their thoughts, because for many of us are in the survival mode. And especially when we are like on social media and we are watching news and everything, we get in this survival mode and we are stressed out every day after work and the kids and so on. And it's so easy, you know, to think of more like black and white. And if someone says they are bad and they are good, and you say, oh yeah, I'm for the good ones and so on. But that actually makes a disconnection between people. And it also doesn't give you that curiosity. But if you are open and if you are grounded and you feel this mother connection, whatever way you do that, if you are grounded in yourself, you can actually, even in those bad people and bad places, you can actually try to see their point of view, not because you want to, you know, say that, oh, it's okay what they are doing, these horrible things. No, but just to understand where they're coming from. And in that case, it might be easier to deal with situations like, not talking about war or something, but like talking about my own experience with my kids or with my husband, for example. Before that, when I was stressed out, I was just like, I wasn't curious about his view. We were like fighting like this because I thought, it's my view, it's your view. I don't want to know about your view because it was safer for me. I wanted to close off. I wanted to put walls because it was safer, because I wanted to protect myself and my point of view. But by doing that, we actually drifted apart because he was doing the same thing. And, you know, and there is no connection then. There's just conflict and misunderstanding and so on. So this curiosity is so pivotal in people connection, I think. Curiosity of that other person, where they come from, trying to understand why they are doing things and try to understand why their words, as we said before, are affecting me in that way. And that understanding, that awareness, of course, back to awareness again, and this curiosity to knowing why helped me, you know, so much in my life to have better connections with people, better understanding and better flow in life. And when I became in that place, it was easier for me to find more creative solutions maybe to the problem that we had or dealt with, because we had different understanding then. And instead of, you know, being fighting with each other and standing this far away from each other, we were like this and trying to flow and to fix and to find a solution that fits us, a family from two different cultures, you know, with raising kids. It's not always easy, and just to find our own way that fits us. So just like everyday example.
Yeah, I love it. And I want to go back, I want to backtrack a little bit, because it's a very important thing you said, that there are moments where curiosity is not accessible, and that's okay. By acknowledging that curiosity is not accessible, we can then bring creativity in, right? But the one thing we need to either want to happen is willingness. We need to wanting something different. We would want to make a connection. Like those are, that is a foundational thing. That's like the nurturing piece, right? Like we want to make a connect. Like if we don't want to make a connection, then curiosity nor creativity won't be accessible. And to really understand, like, the only way to move on, to get to the next place, to get to somewhere where we feel nurtured and cared for and have a new foundation, is by making a connection. And so the moment we are willing to make a connection, no matter what, we can then either access curiosity, or we can at least get creativity in place where we can figure out, okay, what would I need to do now so that curiosity can take place, right? Like, how can I move through my life in a way that allows me to connect to someone, to get a little bit more information? And when I find this connection, not to stay so stuck in this one person, for example, like let's say I found this one person that is my go-to, that's the one I can talk about anything, and then I don't want to talk to anybody else. It's a great start, but then also expanding our horizons to receive more information, how to expand, because that's another thing you started saying, is like, there is this connection, there is two people, let's say, right? Let's start with two, because any other more people we're adding, it's going to get more complicated. And that can help us to navigate that dance, because if you ever wanted to dance with 3-4 people at the same time, you're going to step on each other's toes, right? So find one person. Well, maybe start with yourself, get into a flow, into a dance by yourself, then add one more person. It's like, oh, hey, look, this is how I'm moving, how do you move? Let's, bringing the theme of last week in the dance aspect, and then move together. And then not having like a set way of like, this is how I am, this is how I do things, and the only way we get forward is by you following me. Because like you said, if there's two people that feel the same very strongly about their own way, you're never going to get anywhere. And so it's really to figure out a way to, okay, to share, these are my perspectives, this is how I see it, and listen to the other person, what are their perspectives, and therefore we teach each other how to listen to one another, and then figure out together how to become curious and creative. And then we get the best solution for the two of us to dance together, that when I do this we go right, when you do this we go left. Or we're just gonna say, you know what, this is your dance, you tell me where to go, and the next dance is on me, so I'm going to tell you which direction to go. So there are so many ways we can operate and navigate through life, that we can find connection and evolve into creativity and curiosity.
That's so beautiful. I just loved how you took dance into this, and that really you talk about that, actually, like in my case, it was important to dance for myself, find myself back again, and dance with myself before I could dance with my husband, for example. And ideally, when I think of it, when you talk, it would be great if two people really found that dance before they get kids. But usually it's not what happens, right? Usually we get kids and they force us to learn to dance a new dance and then somehow include them, and and usually in beginning for many it's a chaos. But ideally it would be great if we all learn to dance this dance with ourselves, where we know more about how we move and how we work and why we work like that. And when we find our partners to be more open and dance together, and then include the kids or other people around, and it would be such a beautiful dance. And reality, it's not always that easy, and I know that from my own experience and many others, but it's a beautiful way of describing it, and I think it's such a wisdom in it. And I think here comes the curiosity back, this openness, expansion that we talked last week, expanding our view, learning from other people, understanding others. It makes this dance much more beautiful and easier and more flowing, and it makes our life easier and more flowing. Because who says who is right, who's true is real truth? Really, if you think about it, to be honest, all the rules, everything is made up by people so we can live in nice, good societies, right? And it's good and it's important and we need it. We need structure, we need norms, but sometimes some of the structures, some of the ways that we're living maybe are not so beneficial for us people. And that's what we see in our society, that people are too stressed out, too depressed, too anxious, too overworked. There is a reason for it, and there is some things that are not working, and this curiosity and creativity then can come into that and see, why is it not working? How can we make this dance in our society better for everyone? How can we make our life and everyone? And maybe some creative ideas will come up, and then maybe, that's what you and me are trying to do here, right? As well, just having these beautiful conversations. And you are great in these kind of creative ways. We talk with you, and just you pop up some ideas in your mind and you do something. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to engage in these conversations with you, because we're spreading the word out, and I hope people will listen to this and take something out of it that will make their lives better, and in the end their closest family will be hopefully affected by it, and this is closest society as well. And I think that's why we both are so eager about talking about these things and getting it out here.
Well, thank you, Diana, for for your feedback. And one thing, as you're mentioning, this process of our conversation, for example, the only way this is possible is not having a fixed idea on how the end result shall turn out, and really be present and connected to the person in front of you, hearing and listening to what they're actually saying, not previously recording the thoughts that I already have about what we're going to talk about, for example. And that's in life. Oftentimes, when we have a conflict, we already have pre-recorded the conversation we want to have with that person, not knowing what they're going to say. We probably, knowing the people, we have an idea what they will be saying. So in our pre-game, we're already playing their version of response in our heads. And we are not even listening to the little nuances that may be slightly different to what we played in our head. Because yes, you probably are right that the things that you're going to hear are certain words and sentences that they are going to say, 110%. Because if you've been with someone for a period of time, you know them, no doubt. Also, there is some part of it that you've been together. Like I've noticed this with my spouse, right? Like the other day, like I'm not feeling amazing, so I'm the kind of person that I pre-plan things, right? Like I will, someone tells me like, oh no, I'm not in the mood for this. I was in the mood for something. It's like, all right, never mind. I'll figure something out for myself, right? All right, it's done deal. I'm sitting down. Everything is good. I'm fine. We're going home after this. And then they get back to the car. It's like, all right, so where are we going? I'm like, what do you mean where are we going? And I get all upset and they're not understanding why I get upset. It's like, because now you're asking me what we're doing when we already said, and it was already said and done, we're going home, right? So then I have to listen instead of getting all excited, like stay stuck in my own ways, to like, hold on, maybe they are opening up the space again. But in my world, it was like, no, now I have to think about things again, right? So like plan something. So there are so many nuances that fall into how we communicate something, and depending how we're feeling, we might not be able to address all the parts, meaning we have to then be receptive to what's the situation right now. Is this now a time and place to really get into a new conversation? Is this a time and place where it's like, oh, never mind, that was none of the things I wanted to say, forget it, it's okay? Or is it something we need to pick up again later on to go through it and such, and figure out like, was this something we need to discuss for future times? So there is so many layers to this. And so all I'm saying is that sometimes we are too worried about how something will turn out, not to be free in the moment. And even if there are some strong emotions coming up during that exploration of curiosity and creativity, maybe you are all open and curious, but the other person isn't, to not blame anyone in the concept, either be it me to be too interested in figuring something out, or being too restrictive to inviting new ideas, but to actually say like, okay, never mind, this might have been not a good moment. To also be sensitive in what situation we're in, because every moment is new. Obviously, our conversation is planned to be this way, but if I was coming into a conversation with you on any day, let's just hang out, and I have like all this thing, and you'd be like, oh, I just wanted to talk about my life, like what's going on in my life, because I had something I wanted to share with you, and I was wondering, this wouldn't work that way, and we could maybe feel frustrated, right? And so to really be aware of what time and place and mood am I in, and sense a little bit of like, what kind of temperature is the other person in? Is it cool, hot? Are they like flirty, like I'm excited to do new things kind of thing, right? Or are they more like reserved and like, I just want to get through my day today? And that goes with anything in life, right? And so the initiation and the foundation might not be what we initiated it with, like, oh, I thought it's going to be a great day, but then the train was running late or whatever else happened. I spilled a drink, and everything can change in an instant. And so to really be open-minded in that. I know I said a lot right now, a lot of different things. What are some thoughts that you're having talking about flow and preconceived ideas?
No, but I mean, I so agree with you, and it's so true, and it's so beautiful. And I coming back to long-term relationships, this curiosity, it's even more important, I think. I mean, me and my husband been together for 20, what was it? 20 or almost 26 years, I think, or 28 years almost. As you say, I don't even know the years, but in quite a long time. And it's not been always like dance on the roses, which is like this in all the relationships, but especially long-term relationships. This curiosity, I think it's so important, and this awareness, and that's why I love mindfulness in that way, because it makes you to be aware, to be here in this moment, as you were talking about, without being in the past, without being in the future, which is not easy. Trust me, I know, but with some practice, it gets easier, and it's so worth it, because as you said, it can be so easily misunderstood when we talk to people, and we have already this in our story in our heads. Oh, they will react like this and they will do that. And that in those situations, we're actually not open. We're not open in seeing that person that is in front of us that day, in that moment, in that minute, and we are not listening. And in those cases, it's much, much easier to be misunderstood, much, much easier to be frustrated, irritated, and the relationship goes sours. I mean, it's sour. That's very easy to do after long-term relationship. That's why I think this curiosity part is so, so important to long-term relationships, especially because, to be honest, every time we see a person, that person has changed. Something has happened to them. They've evolved in one way or another. And we can never, never know what person that thinks. Maybe we could guess because we have known that person for a long time, but we actually can never know. We can never know what we will say and think in next second either. We can guess, but it's not always right. That's why being aware, being in the moment, trying to see that person with curious eyes as if you see that person for the first time, it's so rewarding and it's so giving, and it deepens the connection. And there's the curiosity again. Curiosity to see the person in front of you right here and right now. And also there comes also the creativity, how you can be curious, how you can do things differently, how you can see the world in different ways, and how you behave differently. There, I mean, and walk this path together in a different way. Because I know sometimes my husband say, oh yeah, I know what you're gonna say. And it's like, how do you know what I'm going to say? Because I don't even know what I'm going to say right now, you know. And some people would say, yeah, but in all couples, sometimes the spouse knows better than you do. Well, it depends. It depends how a person is. And also it depends on which situations you are. But for me, it's better to be open and to be, you know, try to see every situation as new, because it gives you opportunity to see life in different light and learn something new.
And I love how you brought in long-term relationships, because that kind of can close out our episode number 3 in regards to motherly connection, because that is a long-term relationship right there, and it influences our long-term relationships with our spouses and partners in our lives, our children. It has a huge influence on how we were raised, how our relationship are to our mothers, and our initiation to our world, into this world. And it has a huge impact, and therefore it really is one and the only thing we can do is to become curious about our personal past, our experience, about our upbringing, and also on how it has influenced our relationships that we have or don't have, right? And seeing what patterns are there, and also become a little bit more curious on how one has impacted the other. Any final thoughts?
No, it's just so beautiful. I so agree with you. And that what you mentioned before, the flow, you know, the curiosity and then awareness about the situation, the background. Is it the right time to take it, talk about it, or is it not? And I think it's so beautiful. And here we go back to motherly connection and stability in yourself, nurturing of yourself again. Again, if you are nurtured, if you're safe, if you feel good in yourself, it will be easier for you to connect with others, to be more curious, to be more creative. So especially, I just want to say, especially to all moms, don't forget to take care of yourself, to be grounded, because then life will be easier and more beautiful and more colorful and more creative.
Yes, and connect to other mothers, because the moment you talk with them about certain challenges that you're facing, or difficulties, or even joyful things, but especially those other ones, you will find that other people have the exact same thing. And for me personally, it makes life so much easier, because then I know, one, it's not just me; two, it probably isn't that bad; and three, it will pass at some point, and I can find this joy to become curious and creative. So if you are in a place where maybe curiosity and creativity isn't available, where maybe nourishing and found and the flourishing of like this nurturing piece isn't right there, figure something out. Like tap into creativity and figure out like what would help you to figure out a way to be more curious. And again, it could be connecting to same people, like-minded people, people in similar situations than you, that you can maybe get some responses that you are not alone. So thank you so much, Diana, for having this conversation with me and sharing all these beautiful insights around awareness, mindfulness, and how every day is a new day to explore creativity and curiosity and make new motherly connections with yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.